Hey everyone, it's Andrew from MAO Magic, and I'm here with the SteelSeries XL controller for iOS, and that includes the new Apple TV. Now, there are a few different versions of this, and they're all very similar. So I have the XL version here, but it's pretty much on par with the Nimbus, which is the first one that is officially made for Apple TV. There are a few minor changes, including that the pause button in the middle now is a menu button, but as far as like actual feature-wise, it works identical. If you press the pause button here, it will be a menu button. It will just take you right back or pause that game. When you open up the controller itself, you're going to get two AA battery standard alkaline version and the controller itself. Now, this controller, which is the XL, looks very much like an old school Xbox controller. The Nimbus looks very similar to this one as well. Now, both these, while this does say XL, it isn't like an extra large version. It's basically a standard version of the controller. So this would be a standard gaming console controller. Now, included are those two alkaline batteries. However, you could use some rechargeable batteries like the ones Apple sells, or maybe some of those Eneloops that are very popular. Or you could do some lithium-ion batteries, which would also be an option. By default, this controller uses AA batteries, and you get about 40 hours of use, which, depending on if you're actually using this for gaming, that could not be that much time. You could be really powering through those AA batteries. So a lithium-ion or rechargeable would be a lot better option. I do wish it just had something built in, and I could just maybe plug it into like the same charging thing that I use for my PlayStation, but alas, you're going to be buying some AA batteries, which probably the first time you're going to do that in quite some time. Now, the controller itself, there's no grip or anything on the actual handles. It doesn't feel bad at all, and I don't have a problem with it, but it isn't textured at all. The joysticks are both lined up compared to the Xbox, which are offset, and they don't depress, so they don't click down at all. That's not a feature that they've got built in. You can use, when you're using this on your Apple TV, you can use the triggers on the top there to navigate the system. You can move left or right with those triggers when you're on the main menu. You can also use that joystick on the left or that D-pad on the left. That middle button will act as the menu button as well as the B button when you're outside of games. You have two buttons here on the top, one which will disconnect and the other which will light up the battery option on the top of the device. And you do have that on and off switch and the battery compartment underneath. So as I mentioned, the B button will basically act as a back button. So when you're on the main menu, that'll act as a menu button. The middle button, the pause button there, or the menu button on the new Nimbus controller, those will be the menu buttons. So outside of games, B button and that center button are your menu. You can hold either of those to go back to the home screen at any time. However, when you're in a game, the game itself can map any buttons to all different types of controls. So for instance, in Asphalt 8, you can use A to go and B to brake. Now, while we are primarily focusing on the Apple TV in this video, this is not just for Apple TV. This is for Mac, for iPhone, for iPad, pretty much any iOS product that includes the iPod Touch. So such as Alto's Adventure, which was recently updated to add this MFI controller support. You can use that to jump and navigate the game. So to pair this guy for the first time, whether it's to an iPhone, to your Mac, or to the new Apple TV, which is what we're going to look at, we're going to simply turn it on. You'll see those lights flashing up on the top. For the Apple TV, we're going to go into settings. We're going to go down to remote and devices, which are going to give us our Bluetooth options. We're going to then go down to Bluetooth. Even though it says learn remote, we're actually going to look at Bluetooth in general. And then we're going to look at other devices. Once this is powered on, it should simply show up. Then we can go ahead and select it, and it'll give us a notification in that top right-hand corner that the remote was connected. If you ever turn the remote off, you'll also get a notification that the remote was disconnected. Once you have this paired with the Apple TV, you can even use it to wake it up. So I can turn the remote off, and then when I want to use my Apple TV again, I can turn it on, and it'll negate the use for the Siri remote at all. So you can use that D-pad on the left to go through the system. You can use the joystick, and when you kind of hover around a little bit, it still gives you that little shiny parallax effect, even though it is a little bit delayed. You can also move left and right using the trigger or the bumpers on the front of the controller. Now, this is not the most smooth. It is kind of slow and jumpy as I'm trying to move around. So if we go into any game that supports these MFI controllers that are made for iOS controllers, such as Alto's Adventure here, we can simply use it as we normally would. So in Alto's Adventure, the controls are pretty simple. There's basically just jump. So you can simply hit the A button, you'll jump into the air, and anytime I'm done, I can hold that menu button to go straight back to the home screen. The smash hit Crossy Road was also updated to add this controller support here, and even multiplayer if you have that unlocked, which you just need to unlock one additional character and you can do multiplayer. So we're going to cover multiplayer gaming in another video and we'll go over that. But for Crossy Road here, it's much easier to control because you don't have to swipe, which was a little bit difficult on the Siri remote. So with the built-in control pad here on the actual MFI controller, it's a lot easier to play Crossy Road. So if you're looking for games that actually support this MFI controller, we can head to the App Store itself. Now, while Apple just added those categories to the new App Store on the Apple TV, there isn't a section for games that include that MFI controller. So you do have to look online if you just want to find games that do, but anytime you open them, you'll notice here we're at that car chase. It doesn't say anything about it. However, if we go down here and we look for maybe Badland, which is a really nice side-scrolling game, if we open that up, you'll notice it does have a little notification saying that MFI controller or that game controller is optional. So we can use a game controller with this game. Now, as I mentioned, this is an MFI controller, so you will have this logo right on the box. So it's made for iPhone, iPod, and iPad. This also works for the Mac, and the new model, the Nimbus, is specially made for the Apple TV, which means it has a menu button instead of a pause button, though they work the same way. As far as the pros and cons go, it is a full-size controller. Even though it says XL, it's not oversized. It's just standard size. They have a smaller version that's really tiny. This is just a normal size controller. It has much better control when you're in games like Crossy Road to navigate with. It's very comfortable. I've had no problems with that. And it is MFI certified. So this is like an actual Apple approved controller. So you know it's going to be of the highest quality compared to some of the other third-party ones that may be a little bit shoddy and you don't really know what to expect. As for the con side of the controller, it needs batteries. I can't simply just plug this in and charge it, so you have to have batteries for it. It can't be required, and by this, I mean games still have to use the Siri remote as like the default controller. If Apple allowed games to require an MFI controller or a game controller, they probably could be a lot better because you don't have to try to map all of your controls to a simple little swiping touchpad. So if Apple could just not have that restriction and games could require a remote control, games I'm sure could be a lot better. So that's not a problem with the SteelSeries remotes, that's just a problem with the Apple TV in general. And the menu navigation is a little bit clunky, especially using the joystick because they have that added parallax effect. When you're trying to move to the joystick, you move it to the side and you have to move it like a bunch extra to actually get it to move to the next one over, and it's not as smooth as I'd like. If you are interested, I put the link in the description below, so check it out. Please subscribe, ask any questions, and I'll see you next time.